I have a bunch of shit intersecting. So the rear left floor pan and that piece that I made for the seat bracket floor section, and not only that, but the front, actually the second and the third floor brace on the left side also intersect with the rear floor pan. So I'm having to mock all this up, get it trimmed, and I have to start making some decisions. That piece that I made is a little, well, it's long. So like, where do I cut? Do I cut the piece that I made, or do I cut the aftermarket piece? Decisions. That's what I'm going through right now. I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna cut, what I'm gonna cut, and then where I need to add pieces, because this rear floor pan on both sides are short, because apparently the floor pans that they put in this car previously were a little bit longer, and I don't know, different brand, different make, I don't know. But anyways, so I'm having to make, which it touches in some areas, but not all of it. So it's definitely short. It fits good. So far it looks like it's gonna fit nice. I got all the floor braces in there and it's gonna fit decent. So I'm not worried about the fit, but like, I have to start cutting, and I'm just like looking at it, like, where the fuck do I cut? There's a bunch of pieces that I have to make all fit together like a puzzle. Fuck. I quit. So here's a piece that I made. Here's the third floor brace. Here's the second floor brace under here. It's already all screwed in. That one fits good. That one's not going anywhere. This and this are all mucked up, except for like what I gotta trim around this area right here. But, and the floor brace is kind of just clamped on there where it's gonna go, that for the third one. But my dilemma is, like, do I cut on this line? Because here's the floor brace right here, right? And there's the seat bracket underneath. Or do I cut on that line, on this aftermarket piece? I guess it doesn't matter. I'll probably cut both, but still, it's like nerve-wracking. You gotta punch holes in here somewhere too. So anyway, that's what I'm working with. Well, I was able to get the rear left seat pan mocked up and all the braces that go underneath it. I just got to do a little bit more trimming and cleaning up and make one more piece for a filler. And tomorrow this thing can get welded in. First I have to take it all apart from mock-up and then primer underneath, do some corrosion protection, and then you start welding this thing in. Hopefully I can get it all, at least most of it, welded in tomorrow, because there's like 4 or 5 pieces that I gotta put in and fit and make sure that they all line up and it looks good. So today was a rough one because I'm just kind of like dealing with a lot of intersecting pieces, like I said earlier. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's coming together. It looks good, and I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you what we got going real quick. That goes to the seat brace bracket. Here, under here is the first floor reinforcement that mounts to the frame. Second reinforcement is here. You can see under there. So that's brand new. That had to get mocked up. And then, like I said before, these floor pans don't reach. And so I'm having to make pieces to fill. This one will go there, and I have to trim that off. And then I'm gonna cut this out because I started welding some holes and it just started running away from me, so it's all kind of just Mickey Mouse right there. So I'm gonna chop this, go under here and chop that, and then make a piece for that. And then I have to make a piece to fill that area right there. But the floor brace is all in. You can see it screwed right here underneath. This is the third floor brace, which goes under here. You can see it right there. That's in tight. This is in tight. And I still gotta figure out exactly where that's gonna go, and then weld this edge and put this all in. But I gotta take all this stuff out. But first I'm gonna make these other pieces. So I gotta take everything out, primer it, and then I can put it back in after. And this Left side will be completely done after that, and then I can move on to the right side, because if you ain't right, get left. I don't know, that didn't make sense, but anyway, just taking pieces after pieces, but it's coming together finally, and I'm excited that I will be done with this side and can move on to the next side. And then of course I will attack the outside of this thing and get this thing all dent pulled and start doing the body work on this thing. And it's not after I do the trunk though, because we still have trunk sections to do. We still have some quarter panels sections back here to do in the back, and trunk floor, spare tire well, all that stuff's getting replaced. So still a ways to go, but one piece at a time, and we can get it done. Isn't there a song like that, one piece at a time? Johnny Cash? I think there is. Well, what can I say? I'm here, so I'm just here. So yesterday was a hard day for me because I'm just looking at these aftermarket rear floor pans on this left side, and I got to make some more little patch panels to fill this thing because they just put these huge relief cuts in the corners on these things. And I get it, like it's an easier fit, but like now I got to make little patch panels, and it's just annoying as hell because I've seen other parts, but I've seen other floor pans for cars, and I've installed other floor pans for other cars, and they didn't have these big, huge relief cuts in the corners. And I just like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, what the fuck do I do with these? Legit. But we're going to make it work. I'm going to clean them up and maybe just put a little strip in there and just make them nice and parallel and make a nice little pathway there and just do a little strips. It's fine. But like, not only that, but like just them not reaching and me having, I just hate Frankenstein shit where like you see a bunch of welds all over the place. I like one clean weld, and I mean, I could do that, but I have to remake the whole freaking panel, legit. Like almost probably 40% of it would have to be remade and then welded and make a huge piece, huge patches. But I'm just gonna work with what we got. Like I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna try to make the welds as flat and without warpage as possible, because like I said, I just hate Frankenstein little patches here and there. I just don't like doing it. But like we're on somewhat of a time schedule on this thing because like nobody wants to see this thing take freaking 10 years. At least I don't. I'm fucking tired of looking at it already. And not only that, but I measured the floor brace on this rear seat pan, and I put it exactly where the old one went, like measured it exactly from the other side, because the other side's still original or still the factory location, factory piece. And it's off by like just, well, actually a lot for like body work or automotive standards. It's off a lot. So I'm gonna have to move that floor brace back a little bit and just make them both even and make them look, I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything because there's nothing there in the way, but still, it's like, why can't they just fit? The only reason that that floor is so far back is because the way it fits up to that center section, so it has to go back. There's just like the way that that first little break on when it goes down into the back, from the front to the back, it it fits there perfect. So like I put it in place, and then I made it reach all the other panels, and then also put that floor brace up to it so it's flat against it. So it's like everything fits good, except for like I have to move the floor brace back a little bit too. So because I was looking at the old panels also earlier outside, and the actual where the welds were, where I grinded all the welds off, was just more in center on one of the body lines. So So first thing on the agenda is get all these pieces made for these filler panels. I'm gonna do the ones where the actual cuts in the corners from these aftermarket pieces are last, because I'm gonna just weld everything in, and then I'll go in there with the grinder and clean all those up, and then make perfect little pieces for those little cuts in there, because they had to do it because they couldn't just shape the corners. For God's sake, they couldn't just shape the corners. But anyway, we're still grateful. We're still grateful. We're working on a very rare convertible, hopefully aircraft pump, because I want to see this thing old school, aircraft dumps, aircraft setup, like just original paint on some gold ones, mobbing. So still grateful, but it's annoying. Can you say that and say you're still grateful? Can you say it's annoying and still be grateful? I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? 2024, got to be more grateful. Well, we got as far as making all my pieces. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total that I had to make. So those are all made, and I started installing some of the pieces on the actual floor pan, the aftermarket floor pan. So I got those installed, and then I'm working the metal to make them the shape that I want them, because I kind of just threw them in there. I didn't really take a lot of time to shape them outside of welding them in and then shaping them, because I can get the floor up on the side and like just hammer that edge on an A-frame or like an anvil and just kind of like shape it like I want it. I still got to do a little bit more shaping, so I'll do that in the morning. But I did do a final mock-up for tonight, and I'll let you check it out. So I added these pieces on here all the way around. I did do some shrinking and stretching on this piece. It's super tight right here in this area, and it's a little loose right here. I still gotta shape this a little bit more, stretch this right here with a curved hammer, and then I'll go in here and kind of flatten this more, and then kind of make this a little bit more concave. I just kind of like went over the welded area, so now I got to go in here and still do some more shaping in here, so that's a little bit more flat, because it kind of goes up and in. As of now, it's touching almost to the edge, or right on the edge, and it's real tight. So after I stretch it, then I'll start doing my final grind to get this thing fitting nice. So, and then I got to do some pie cuts here and get this thing, because the aftermarket floor brace, the second one that's under here, is a little bit short in this area right here, which I don't know if it's something to do with this piece that I made, but it seems like the floor is a little bit big right here in this area. So I'm gonna cut this and shrink it down and then weld all this in right here all the way around. And then I still got to take everything out and primer underneath it. And then I did do some holes here for the seat mount, and I got to figure out, I'm gonna make a template and figure out exactly where the other holes, because they're blind because the other floor brace is covering them. So these holes are blind, so I got to figure out with a template where these other 2 holes, because there's 4 holes here, 1, 2, and there's 2 more right here. So got to do that, and then I can finally, once and for all, start welding this shit in. I'm so over this rear section of this floor, and to think I still got to do that side, and it's the same thing. Literally, it's too short, and it has those big ass relief cuts. Anyway, I just gotta have gratitude that I'm even working on this car. So as much as you hear me complaining, I'm thankful that I have the work, because some people don't even got work right now. So good morning. Is it me, or does it seem like the world is just like going to shit in front of our eyes? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but everything on my news feed has been everything in my news feed on my shorts or any short content. I don't know if it's just short content that I like need to stop watching short content, because I feel like it's just all like sensationalized bullshit, and like I can get more value from like, and I usually do, but like sometimes when I'm just scrolling through, I'll like watch short content, and everything on my short content news feed, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube, is divisive. It's all about LGBT fucking Q and like the immigration stuff, like the wars. I mean, everything right now is, all that stuff is, there's a spotlight shining on it right now. So yeah, it's gonna be like, and people want to take, that's the thing about capitalism. I love capitalism, don't get me wrong, because it affords you the ability to like buy time, basically. But one thing I learned in sales, I did some sales jobs, did all kinds of shit, but I did some sales jobs, and my coaches used to always talk about like seizing opportunities through identifying people's pain points and acting and selling on those pain points. So like, that's capitalism in a freaking nutshell. Sometimes people just want to seize opportunities on your pain point, so they just put up all this shit that makes you think about your pain, so that you'll be more willing to spend money on shit that doesn't matter, that you don't need, that just makes you feel good. Shit's crazy. I don't know. I just had a thought right now. But I'm at the shop. It's time to get to work. Just sipping on my coffee here while I think about the state of the world. But in my world, it's all about this 58. So let's go. Excuse the audio because I forgot to grab my tripod with my mic. I'll have it later, but anyways, I just want to show you, I got the final mock-up on this rear left floor pan finally, and I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some primer because I'm completely out of etching primer or any kind of primer to primer these before I put them in. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll come back, I'll do the final trim and start installing this floor. Thank the Lord. Weigh the anchor. How much did it weigh? I don't know. Whew. Looks like they're finally gonna get this tree cut down. They got a crew out here. It is foggy out here, and I gotta drive through the cuts to get to my destination. It's gonna be foggy. I can tell already. When it's foggy in town, it's gonna be out. When I have to drive through the country, it's gonna be hella foggy. I can tell already. But oh well, we got a long day ahead of us because we have to get that rear floor pan on the left side of that 58 all installed today. At least I want to say I can weld the whole thing up today, but at least get everything installed. There's like 9 pieces, 2 braces, the pan, some filler pieces that I made, the center section where the seat bracket bolts to or welds to. It's just a bunch of stuff that I got installed today, so we better get on the road and get there. But the fog is crazy today, and I need brakes on the old lady's car. Hear that? Wee wee. Wee 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 wee. This isn't even that bad. I've been out here when you can't see 50 feet in front of you. It's been that bad before. The worst thing is people getting scared and stopping in the middle, and you're driving a normal speed limit, probably about 40 miles an hour. I'm so used to this shit. I drive normal 60 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour in this weather, but people get so scared they'll stop in the middle of the damn road because they're scared. But I've been out here when you have to drive through this at about 20-25 miles an hour because it's that thick. But this isn't that bad. I can see the taillights on the car that's just up ahead, right? You can see it right there. See it? And you can see the headlights coming, so not that bad. So I came in, I'm at the shop. Of course I came in, what am I saying? I got the heater going and primering my last part, which is the seat pan. You see it over here. Primering the seat pan and starting to install parts. I'm gonna install that piece that I made for the seat mount bracket, which goes in between the front and the back floor pan. Installing that first, then I'm going to put the second floor brace in from the front, and then I'll put the third floor brace in, then start mounting my floor and start putting my floor in, do all the final trims on that, and hopefully, like I said, get this thing, if not fully welded, halfway welded, because there's a lot of welding to do. And hopefully, let's cross our fingers, because I know that my gas bottle is probably running low, so hopefully I don't run out of gas today and have to go travel 20 miles to get some gas for my welder. Went to La Tienda to get some grinding wheels that I needed. I had ordered yesterday when I went to O'Reilly's, and picked those up and came back and buttoned up the center section of the floor on the left side that transitions from the front floor to the back floor. And now I've got my second floor brace mocked up, and I am getting ready to flip this thing on its side again, because I still have to go under there and primer. So prep and primer. This 58 is going to be on its side, and then after that's primered underneath, I can start I can install that second floor brace, and then I can install the third floor brace, and then I can install the floor. So that's the order. And I still have pieces that are extensions that come off of the floor and go up to the top of the inner rocker to meet that part of the floor. Huh? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I got so much shit going on right now. But stay grateful. Who's working on the 58 right now? Drop. Impala Low in middle of winter and making it happen. Guess what I'm doing? Ding, ding, ding. Oh shit, there went the light. I knew I forgot something. There she blows. Nice and steady. I've had this shit fly over and almost hit my knee before. The hook came unhooked and that shit said whew, and a 58 went swinging. But I was doing way too much. When you get to the end, steady as she goes. I was thinking earlier, there was a bottle of acetone over there, and I'm like, let me just drink that acetone. Did I hit the limit? I think I hit the limit. And just end it. No, I'm just kidding. Still grateful. You want to know what I've done twice this week? Is jack this thing all the way up with the come along and then get under it without securing the rotisserie. That could end bad. If the cable broke and it would just smack me, that would not be good. I bet you didn't know we were into death-defying feats around here, did you? Always in the face of danger. That ought to do her. I'm all sweaty. So I managed to get both floor braces in, the second and third floor brace, and that adjoining center section for the seat bracket. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the floor in tonight or tacked in, because we're running out of daylight and it's Friday. So I'm crossing my fingers. I need to lower this thing down now, back level. So I got both floor braces from the underside tacked into the rocker panel, but now I need to lower it down and start installing from the top. All the holes are punched. Well, most of them are, except for a few. And just start welding, going down. It's closing time and the floor's still not welded in. Oh, brah. I sound like a freaking millennial or Gen whatever. Bruh. So much welding, so little time. So much setting. I had to reset the second floor brace. I reset the third one yesterday. So today, to make it line up better, put the friction jack on it and forced it against the rocker a little bit more because it was kind of far from it. So took me a minute to like reposition it, re-drill new holes, re-screw it in so that I can start or tack it in, because it's rigid. The floor braces are super rigid, and this one's aftermarket, so it's not super precise. So I'm just trying to force it in there nice and tight. That's the thing, you can't like weld these in loose, because then you have big old gaps and it looks like shit. So you have to force it in there, especially if it doesn't fit that good. So that took me a little while, and then getting all the bracing like nice, and that's the main thing on this thing, is getting it like welded nice, prepped nice, because you don't want it like popping later on down the road. You hear the welds go pop, 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 pop. So you have to prep good, clamp down hard, and really like just melt it and watch that puddle and get it nice and red hot and melted and fused together. So what can I say? Monday's another day. Hey. Well, I cleaned the shop and I got a last look at this thing. I even stayed a little bit late and went around with the hammer and just kind of pecked on it, because it was like sticking up all weird in some areas. So I'm happy that it looks like it's gonna fit really nice. The initial measurements and the initial markings are looking like it's going to be a nice tight fit. I can butt weld this thing with no problem. There's no big gaps. Everything that was rusted I fixed. So it looks like it's going to fit good. The floor brace fits nice underneath it, and it really like hugs it really well. I got it to like really be a nice tight fit because everything looks better when it's nice and tight. So the upside is gonna fit nice. The downside is still ain't done. And I'm tired of working on this shit. I quit. No, I don't quit, but I just need to move on to the next thing. I'm over it. What's Gucci? Happy Monday. We're back with my other baby, this 58. I spent the weekend with my girl and my almost 6-month-old son this weekend and worked on my commuter, and now we're back here with the other baby, the baby back rib, this 58. The baby back rib. Anyway, I got the floor out and we are about to do some final shaving, give it a little off the top, and start fitting this floor, or finish fitting this floor, I should say, and get it welded in once and for all. I'm finding more points to weld on the floor braces, so I'm marking those as I go as well. And well, actually on this second floor brace, I found a couple more points where I can weld to make it more secure, more strong, and really just make this side of the floor done, welded up, and done. This floor is pretty pitted in this area right here, so that means there's oxidation, contamination, and all these. Well, see on this one right here, especially where it popped right there, that bubble popped, and it popped a little hole in there. But I'll grind it down and then I'll refill those again and make those nice and flat. Here's a good example of a good weld right there, a good plug weld, and that's not a good one. I mean, it's there, it's welded, but it has an imperfection right there. See that hole right there? So those will go, and I will sand those all down and then touch up those welds if need be. And then there's a section here that I made that I'm thinking about cutting out because it has a little shape right here on the other side, but you won't even see it. It's like, just put it in, it's done. So first on the agenda for Monday is, get this, I got this floor out. I already took it out, didn't film it, lagged. After I took it out, I was like, why didn't you film that? It would have been a cool little B section montage or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, got the floor out this morning, and I am gonna do a little trim on it, a little shave, a little off the top, if you will, and then also do the final trim on the actual car and get this piece installed, fully welded, if we can get it done. I am happy to say though that I am finally starting to get back, and I think it's by doing these YouTube videos and recording and editing and giving information away and helping people is really making me realize like how much I kind of still like working on cars, how meditative it is. And I never really thought about it like that, because like I got to the point where I didn't want to do it pretty much at all. But I don't know, just lately I've been like, you know what, like just be thankful like that you're able to get up every morning and kind of just do your plan, your thing, and make your creation. So what do I got to complain about, for real? I don't know. Anyway, it's just a thought that like I had in my mind yesterday, because my lady was like asking me, I was working on my Saturn, and she was like, oh, you don't like doing it anymore? And I'm like, not really. And I thought after she walked away, I was kind of a dick answer, and then I thought like maybe I do a little bit, like if I'm not like stressed out about it, like me working on my when I'm not good at something, or like when I haven't done it in a while, at first it's stressful. You're like, fuck, I haven't done this in a while. Like your muscle memory and just your thought process isn't all the way there until you start getting into it, and then it starts to go a little smoother. But at first it sucks. So I complain, and it's cold outside. I mean, if you really think about it, how many people do you know that get paid to create something kind of new every day? Like I'm making a new part of the car every day. I mean, I don't know. But then sometimes I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm done with it. Music, baby. So I got my floor section trimmed down, and now I'm just gonna do some welding inside. On the third floor brace, there's a little weld that didn't really take that well because I was upside down and I really couldn't see that well, and I was tired on Friday, so I'm gonna re-weld that. I already drilled out the weld, and now I'm gonna re-weld that, and then I'm gonna start putting this floor in, or start doing the final scribe so that I can do the final cut on the actual car. So that's next. Stay tuned. So exciting. So I went in on the second floor brace and took out all the set screws and filled those holes with weld, plug welded those. And then now I'm gonna button up that edge where the existing floor meets that center section that I made, and just start welding and spotting and getting that thing to close and line up with that second floor brace. Well, hell, I ran out of gas for the welder. So my last 2 welds were coming out like shit. And I'm like, why? Everything else has been good. And I realized that my gas welder ran out of gas, and it must have been running out earlier because I was having a hard time welding earlier. So it must have been really low. But I managed to get the center section done and managed to get everything trimmed, and the floor is ready to go in. So the thing that sucks about the gas supplier is it's all the way 20 something miles away towards home. So it's already almost 1 o'clock. So that means that I'm probably gonna get my bottle loaded up and get gas this afternoon and then be back tomorrow, because by the time I get gas and get the bottle filled and back, it's gonna be closing time. So I guess it looks like we're not gonna get that floor welded in again. I had a feeling, I even said it in one of the other videos that I took, that I just hope this bottle doesn't run out, because I've been doing a lot of welding. And sure enough, right when I get to tack the floor in, the bottle runs out. I started to leave because I was like disgusted with the way those welds were coming out, and I was just like, ugh, because the welder ran out of gas. But then I said, you know what? Let me make the rest of this day nice and easy, and tomorrow nice and easy, and let me fit that floor to the best of my ability today. That way tomorrow I know that I can come in and it's going to be minimal work to just start tacking this thing in. I'll have a full tank of gas for the welder, and I can start tacking this thing in. So I went around and trimmed a little bit and shaved some edges and got this thing fitting pretty nice to where I know tomorrow I can just come in and start tacking. And hopefully once I start tacking, I can keep going and not have to cut tacks off and remove stuff. I sound like freaking, I don't know who I sound like, but remove stuff and remove and reposition stuff. Damn, that took me a minute to get that one out. Sometimes on these videos, like, this guy a bumbling idiot? What's going on here? What is he talking about? Anyways, so tomorrow I can come in and it will be ready to start tacking. Let's cross our fingers that we don't have to cut any tacks off and reposition anything. To the best of my ability today, I was able to fit it to where I know tomorrow I can come in and just tack it for the 10th time. But that's all, folks. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. So the goal for today is to get that rear floor pan on the left side once and for all welded up. So what needs to happen is, yesterday I primered and prepped, and hopefully today I'm just starting the tack, and I just put the first tack on it when I got here. I set up the welder real quick because I ran out of gas yesterday, and so I got one tack on it. So far it looks like I'm gonna have to redo that tack, but it's gonna give me a placeholder so that I can start tacking this thing in. I'll go back and do that tack later. So that has to happen, get it all tacked in place where I want it, and then weld it upside down, inside out is the second step. Weld the whole thing, and then prep the welds, and maybe do a little body work today. But those three things have to happen in order to be a successful day, and I think we can make it happen. So stick with me while we do the damn thing. Well, I got it tacked in for the most part. I got to cut some tacks loose, a few, and reposition, because I just don't like the way it's offset a little bit. Like, I want everything to be as flush as possible. I know I'm not going to get it perfect, but it just makes for a better finish when everything's nice and flush. And there's a couple spots where it was a lot of tension, where I had to push hard, and I kind of missed the mark a little bit, because once you like move just a hair, the weld goes off. And especially if you don't hold it when it's still red hot, it'll move on you. Whenever you'll see it even move whenever the weld is still red hot. So you have to hold it there, tack, and then hold it until it cools off, and then let it go. So you're bound to like have some that aren't perfect. So I'm gonna cut those loose. I got it pretty much in position. I'm gonna cut those loose and then reposition those little parts, and then just start to go to town to welding this thing up. There's a couple gaps, two kind of big gaps that I'm gonna have to fill, but ni modo, because I didn't trust my initial cut. And sometimes if you don't trust your initial cut, you end up overcompensating and making gaps a little bit too big. There was one gap in particular that I knew that it would have been close if I would have just waited and relief cut a little bit and hammered it down a little bit more. But I ended up shaving a little bit off, and sure enough, the gap is a little bit big. But with the MIG welder, all good. And it's behind the brace, because I did a lot of my welding behind the floor braces, so you don't even see the welds from the outside. And the ones that I did on the outside of the brace, where I did my butt welds on the actual floor, a lot of it I did behind the brace, and that's the way I do them, because that way you can't even see the weld under the brace, and you don't have to do as much prepping. Everything's underneath, so it's good to go as soon as you weld it and you prep the outside or whatever, and the rest of the butt joint is behind the brace, so you can't even see it. The one that exposed will get bodywork and filler and make it look like nothing ever happened, and that's the idea. So next is to reposition first is going to be cut the welds off that I didn't like, or the tacks I didn't like, reposition and re-weld, and then weld all. Once I get it positioned exactly where I want it, then just go to town welding and then prep the welds after. Let's go, baby. Hey, hey. Get to work. Another thing that I might do is go back there, which, no, not that I might, that I have to do, is go back here and hammer and dolly that edge, because that's the most exposed edge. Not that the frame's not gonna be there, but still, it's gonna be the most exposed edge besides this one back here on the back, where the floor pan meets the seat pan here. But I'll hammer and dolly that and get that all in a good position where it looks natural. Well, we got it welded in from front to back, side to side. The only thing left is to weld that third floor brace in. Plug weld those holes that I put in there. The floor braces was already lined up, so I just got a jack under there with the bar and I pushed it up against the floor as tight as it'll go. Now I'm just gonna fill those holes with weld. So plug weld those holes and we'll be done. Tomorrow I can come in, finish prepping the welds, and then I can, if I need to fill in any little spots that I need to fill in, I can do that. The welding wasn't the prettiest, so don't kill me in the comments on that. Simply because on this floor, it was pretty oxidized. There was some good pitting on this floor. So it wasn't that bad. I was able to weld it, so that's good. But when you have oxidized sheet metal and it's thinned out from years of oxidation and rust and surface rust or what have you, it does make the sheet metal a little thinner, so you have to move a little faster, and sometimes you're gonna have little blowouts, and I did. So I was trying to chase those, and I could have turned my welder down a little bit to a lower setting and ran the wire a little slower, but I like to move fast and get done fast. That way would have took me forever. So I just moved as fast as I could and filled the holes as I went. There wasn't a lot, but you know, when you have oxidized sheet metal, it does tend to want to burn through faster. So you have to move quick. I have my setting on a medium setting for this thickness of sheet metal. So I did have to move fast. Like I said, the welding wasn't the prettiest, but it got welded in, good penetration, and it's in there. So all we have to do tomorrow is, like I said, come in, finish prepping the welds, fill any holes that I want to fill, then I'll get it back up on the side so the belly's facing me, and I will grind any welds from the outside and fill any holes that I want to from the outside. Any holes from screws or whatever that I put in on those braces to hold them tighter against the floor pan. So let's go finish this thing and be done for today. It's almost closing time, so I'm happy about that. It lasted, this job, there was so much to do on this job that it took me all day to weld it up and get things set and hammer on things and fix things and grind things and move things. So the day went by really fast. It's almost closing time. So I'm gonna get that brace welded in, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Hey, how's it going over in wherever you're at? Well, over here we're just working on a 58 Impala Convertible Lowrider Build, baby. What's happening? Anyways, today I got in here this morning and just started going to town, and I gave it some flapper wheel and gave it some 60 on a roll lock little 3-inch grinder disc, and kind of gave it the once over and cleaned up those welds a little better. And I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking. Then I remembered, I said, you know what? I have that whole ass window that I cut out, which is this piece for the the B pillar bracing. And then I had a seat riser, which is where the seat, the front of the seat, the bottom seat, it's one of these deals, sits on, and go, so that also goes to the back floor pan, and it comes up, and the back seat sits on the riser. So I went ahead and I got my riser scribed in, my seat riser scribed in on that left rear floor pan. Now I got to go in, and I have to always, those corners, I hate those corners. So up in that brace where that B pillar brace is, I cut a window there so I can get to all that back in that corner. And I'll just show you. So back in that corner, right where my finger's pointing, see there's a piece cut out of that brace that goes to that B pillar where your door latch and your door latch system goes on, right? Your striker goes on the B pillar there. That's where your front door closes, right? Well, right there on that brace, I cut a window out. So now I got to go in there and finish welding. There's one punch hole that I got to weld. I got to do a spot weld on, and then I also have to finish the seam on the piece that I made that goes underneath that brace. So, and then I'll have to flip this thing upside down after I prep all those welds under that thing in that corner. There's still a sheet metal screw in there that I got to get out, and then I got to fill that hole, and then I can flip this thing up, clean up the underside, do any welding that I have to do. Oh, but wait a minute, I still have to do a couple welds that I didn't like up here. So right where that third brace is at, and where that front seat floor bracket base is at, there's a hole that I want to re-weld. So there's this right on this edge right here, that floor brace on this third side where it's grinded right there where my finger's at. And then over here in this area on that floor, on that seat bracket floor brace, front seat, right there, and where my finger's pointing by the light, there's a hole that I want to weld. And then I can flip it on its side, finally, and trace out these little corner pieces that I want to make those, clean up the underside, weld any holes on the underside that I want to weld up, that from screw holes or whatever, where I mock this thing up, and then grind those down, and it'll be done, except for that riser, because I'm going to put that in last when I get both sides in, and then I'll put those risers in exactly where I want them. They're fitting nice. The riser fits good, and my little window, I made sure that it fit good before, and it fits good. So I grinded that. I can just weld that back in after I finish all that, and then fit the riser to those, because they're not even cut at the right angle. Thank you, aftermarket. And then finally, I can be on to the other side. And then I can be onto the trunk. And then I can be onto the outside of this thing. It's never going to end. We're going to be in 58 heaven for who knows how long. Anyway, whatever. It's all good. Still turning out a badass convertible lowrider 58. First one ever that I'm ever going to do. So I've done a 59. I've done 261s. I've done, I want to say 263s or 163, 163, some 64s, and this will be my first 58, and maybe one of my only 58s, unless maybe I buy one or somebody else buys one and wants me to do it. And I want to do it because at this point, who knows if I ever want to do another one. This might be the only one ever in my history of doing a 58. Let's go. Well, it's about that time. So what got done today? The floor got touched up on the inside as far as welding goes, and also any little holes or any areas that were hard to get to, like in that corner, were welded up, and any holes from mock-up when I put sheet metal screws in it were welded up. Everything was prepped twice over, and yeah, that's it pretty much. I had to re-weld some holes that I didn't like, so I cut those loose and re-welded those because it seemed like they were sticking up a little bit too much. So I did that, a couple spots like that. But other than that, pretty straightforward. Just went over and touched up welds and repositioned a couple things and got to the hard to reach places, welded all those and prepped welds. So I'm gonna let you see what it looks like, what the result is. I think it looks pretty good. You let me know down in the comment section below what you think. And if there's anything that you want me to cover in future videos, let me know. We got a lot of sheet metal work coming up. After that will be body work, and after that will be paint work. But we're still on sheet metal. Hey. I like it. I like it. I'm starting to like it. It's starting to look like a car again, not just a bunch of chopped up metal. We got this side almost all done except for the back portion, of course, but this side from the center of the drive line to the left side, as far as the body goes, will be done, except for minor touch-up stuff, but will be all welded up. All the sheet metal will be installed, and then I can go on to the other side, like I keep saying in all the other videos. What I really like is that the floor braces fit nice and tight. I made sure that I really jammed them up in there, and I had to force the back one. I kind of welded it tight on against the rocker, and then I forced it up there so much that I kind of put a little dent in there, but I can pull that out later, not a big deal. But I stuck a bar in there and kind of jacked it up and pushed it up against that floor pan, and they fit just nice and tight. The second floor brace that I put in fits nice and tight. I made sure that everything, I went around and lined everything up. Before, this thing had a huge gap on all the floor braces. Like, they just slapped the sheet metal on top and just, it was terrible. But now everything fits nice and tight and looks like it's supposed to look. Well, I got 2 rounds of welding on the underside of this left side rear floor pan and all the braces around it last night, and I still think I need 1 more round. But first I gotta go, and I figured I would fill those little corner sections and kind of do a little bit of metal work in there and get those all done, and when I prep the welds, go in for the last round as well on the rest of the floor and just get those all welded in at the same time. So what I'm having to do, and what I found, is if you go in there and I'm just getting a screwdriver and I'm like moving stuff around to where it looks lined up, to where it'll make a nice line so I could just fill it after with some filler